Hello everyone, Jacquie Edwards here for Live at Lunchtime. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful sunny Monday. It's nice to have been able to say that almost every day for the last couple of weeks, or week at least, to say that it's been a nice sunny day. So yeah, we finally have summer and it's great, but we are still working along in our business. So I am continuing talking about outsourcing today. So today we'll dip into a little bit on systems because on Friday I talked about when we kind of took on our first key team member who was our lettings manager to help us do tenant viewings, manage spare room responses, and things like that. So fast forward a little bit longer, and the next person we took on was my property manager. Now she works part-time, probably 10 to 20 hours a week in the business. We pay her kind of an hourly rate. She is self-employed as well, so she invoices me monthly based on what she does. So we took her on when we had about 10 properties up and running. Ideally, we probably should have taken her on a little bit sooner because there was quite a bit to do. And what she does is she does all of the referencing. So basically, as soon as a tenant agrees to move into the property and they've paid their kind of admin referencing fee, our property manager takes over. So she does all of the referencing. She also takes, helps them check in. She takes any maintenance issues. She helps to resolve any maintenance issues, liaises with the handyman and any of our engineers that need to go out to the property. And she helps with any checkouts and any tenant queries, that type of thing. So she pretty much does all the day-to-day side of the things. So taking her on at about 10 properties was probably between 50 and 60 tenants. There was quite a bit to do here, so I was doing an awful lot, along with the fact that we were still taking on some properties, still getting things up and running. So I should have done it probably a little bit sooner. So if this is kind of where you're at in your business, I'd say between probably 5, 6 to 10 properties, you should be considering having somebody else come in to help you. Again, she just works part-time, flexible hours from home. So you don't have to have an office. You don't have to do all of that kind of thing. You just need to be organized. So up until that point, we were mostly managing the business using spreadsheets. So I had a tenant spreadsheet, which, kept track of all the tenants, their move-in dates, their move-out dates, and kind of all the referencing information. And I had another spreadsheet that managed our properties. So had all the details about the properties on them. And that one kind of went through like our sourcing and managing conversions and stuff like that. So I had 2 key spreadsheets that I was using before I took the property manager on. Once we started to take her on, I do make it is harder to show somebody how to use a spreadsheet, and there wasn't as much information. It wasn't as easy to share information, even though you can upload it to the cloud. So we use Google Drive, things like that. It was still a bit cumbersome to manage the data. So what we ended up doing was really making a big push to get everything into a CRM system, so a customer relationship management system. And I think that's probably one of the key things to have in place once you start really bringing on staff. So our letting manager didn't really need to have access into the system. She really just did spare room. I let her know when rooms were going to be available, and she took care of just the spare room, which is just a separate website, and did viewing. So she didn't have to have access into a system to do anything on there. But once we got the property manager in place, that's when we started really needing a system. So we spent quite a bit of time after that, getting the system up and running, developing it, and making sure we all knew how to use it properly. So what system do we use? We use a system called Podio, Podio. It is free to use, and basically it's kind of like an empty shell that allows you to build custom apps. Sorry, I'm getting a few messages, which is quite nice. So we built out our own custom apps for our property management business. So all of the apps do pretty much the same thing as our spreadsheets did. We were able to upload the information from the spreadsheets directly into Podio so that all of our information was there without having to retype it. Oh, I might sneeze for a second. Sorry. Anyways, so, and we were able to start gathering things. We can start running reports from that. It's a lot easier to highlight the most important data and best of all, it's really easy to access on the cloud, so on your computer, and there's a mobile phone app as well. So you can kind of do it anywhere on the go. And it gives alerts to each other. We can send each other comments, messages, tasks. It just makes working as a team a lot easier. There are a lot of systems out there that do similar things, and there are kind of custom built property systems out there. Things like Arthur, the NLA, the National Landlord Association, is kind of partnered up with another system that they use that for managing properties. So there's a few of them out there. We really like Podio because, again, it's free to use the base system for up to 5 kind of team members. Then it's just about building the apps. So I've put in a link in this message to Jade's Simplicity, which is my partner's kind of systemizing business. So he and a colleague of ours, Jeff, have spent a lot of time working on Podio. They're both quite techie, geeky, IT type people. They love putting together systems, so they put a lot of effort into creating loads of systems that I use in my rent-to-rent business on a daily basis. So we've put together a lot of information and guides on all of those systems. The link is to kind of our free resources there that takes you through, here's which systems you should be using depending on what stage you're at in the business, links to get to use them, and little guides on how to get them set up and running. So again, the free resources, they're only free for a limited time, probably a couple more weeks. I told them to leave it free so that I could tell you guys about it. But then because there is so much information in there, it is going to be turning into a paid product. But if you get it free now, it will be free forever. So I'd suggest following that link and signing up and getting access to it as soon as you can. And that will give you a good overview of all the systems that we use in our business, and that make it a lot easier for us to communicate together as a team and keep everything flowing a lot more easily. So again, property manager was the second main person that we took on. She has been with us for just over a year now, so that's probably one of the things that pulls me mostly out of the day-to-day running of the business and the day-to-day communication with tenants and what's going on there and what they're doing. So let's go. How did I find her is a question that I get a lot. I basically wrote up a job description, so you should always have a clear job description of exactly what you're hoping that this person is going to be doing all the time. And we posted that in quite a few different online forums. So there's an online classified ads kind of forum for Oxford. We posted it in there. We also posted it places like Mumsnet, so kind of mom-specific websites, because we knew we wanted somebody that only wanted to work part-time and that would be happy with kind of flexible hours working from home. So we thought that was the perfect position for kind of a mom with a couple of young children that, they're off at school all day. She's happy to work then, but she needs to be able to do the school run and, pick the kids up and spend time with them after school. So we did have a lot of responses from that, lots of really qualified responses. So the property manager that we do have spent, I think, 10 years as a letting agent with one of the big firms in Oxford. So she's got loads and loads of experience managing properties, dealing with tenants, and all of the requirements there. She was partially ARLA qualified, that type of thing. So it was absolutely perfect, and she loves working kind of the part-time with the flexible hours because it works around her life and her schedule. So that's where we got her. We kind of set up a plan when we took her on. So basically like a bit of a training plan of, here's what we want you to kind of get to know, where we want you to be, after the first month, we want you to know these systems and be comfortable with doing these tasks. After month 2, you should be comfortable with these systems and these tasks. So that way we were phasing things in, and we had a way of just monitoring and managing where we were at to make sure that we were on track, that she was getting all the information she needed, and that we were getting all the tasks done that we had wanted to get done. So it was a lot of managing things, so it does take a couple of months to get up and running, to pass all the information that you have from doing it all yourself on to somebody else. But take your time, do it slowly. It is important to spend a lot of the time doing kind of training tasks. So I spend a lot of time again now, just making short videos of here's what it looks like when I record something in the system. This is exactly what you need to do, so next time it happens you can record it. and just spending the time walking through it step by step. You might have to do it a couple times before they catch on. If there's things they're struggling with, maybe say, you know, have I written this process out the best way that I could? You know, is there something we're missing here? Is there something that can make it easier? That type of thing. So having processes and the systems in place and everything all written down in a clear, concise manner that's easy to follow is going to make this, as you know, kind of the easiest and smoothest possible transition for a second person. So check out Jade Simplicity for all of our kind of systems that we use. There's some great templates in there. Everything's free right now if you're watching this live, and probably until the end of July. Once it gets into August, then you might have to start paying for it. But there is so many resources in there. We've got great feedback on everything. So highly recommend you check that out. It'll give you exactly what we use in our business and a way to start thinking about how to begin outsourcing for your kind of property manager to take the day-to-day side of things away from you. Her wages basically do come out of the profits of the business. You do need a few more properties in place. So having her kind of ready on the first property, you might not have enough profit at that point yet. But once you've up to kind of 5-6 properties, there should be plenty of profit. So if we think I'm paying her kind of 20 hours a week maximum, so that's 20, 40, 60, 80, we'll say 100 hours a month. So at most we're paying about 1,000, we'll say around £1,000, maybe £1,200 estimated. So that could be, you know, one really good property or two kind of low end, you know, profits from properties. So, you know, if you've got 6 properties, say at £500 profit per month, 2 of them go to pay her, you get the profit from the other 4 properties. But she's the one doing all of the work on the day-to-day side of things, and you're getting most of the profit. So kind of think about how many houses you need to pay her. And again, she only recently, when we've taken on, now we're up to about 20 properties. So we had about 10 properties, she was mostly only doing about 10 hours a week. So we were probably paying between kind of £500 and £700 a month, which is basically one property. So, you know, we had 10 properties. We took the profit from one property to pay her to do all of the day-to-day work, and then we got all of the rest of the profit. So it can work. It works really well. And again, it's all about freeing up our time to kind of live that flexible lifestyle and to have the time to source more properties. So I hope that helps give you some ideas about outsourcing, and I think I'll wrap it up tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the last session on outsourcing. I'll talk a bit more about my virtual assistant and where we're at now. And yeah, so have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.